91 years of human experience reveals most friends are just placeholders for loneliness. There is a difference between friendship and company. The loneliness of a bad friendship is heavier than the loneliness of an empty room. And there are 3 things a person does that prove they were never really your friend. Some friendships begin as comfort, but over time, comfort can turn hollow. Sitting beside someone who calls themselves your friend does not guarantee you are safe with them. Company is easy to find. Genuine care is not. The ache of loneliness can settle deepest when you are surrounded by people who never really see you, who treat your presence as habit or convenience. Research shows that toxic friendships, those built on quiet extraction or chronic imbalance, carry a heavy cost. The body registers the stress, anxiety, depression, even higher blood pressure and weakened immunity, all linked to relationships that drain instead of replenish. Many of these ties survive not through warmth, but through inertia. The truth is, friendship is not just shared time or familiar faces. It is the difference between being held and being used as a placeholder. If you have ever wondered why you feel lonelier with certain people than you do alone, you are not imagining it. The question is not who sits beside you, but who actually cares when you speak. Some people seem to orbit generosity like moths to a porch light. They appear when there's warmth to borrow, comfort to siphon, or a favor to ask. But once the glow fades, so do they. This is the taker's pattern, a friendship that runs on one-way current, where your kindness is treated as a bottomless resource, and your presence is valued only for what it supplies. In these relationships, contact is always initiated when there is something to gain. A ride, a loan, a listening ear, a place to land. The check-ins vanish when you have nothing left to offer, or when your needs finally surface. Psychological research draws a clear line here. Taker behavior aligns with narcissistic traits, entitlement, low empathy, and a habit of overestimating their own contributions. People who operate this way often see others as access points, not equals. They keep a mental ledger, but only tally what they give, never what they take. Insecure attachment can fuel this pattern, especially for those who grew up feeling that care was inconsistent or conditional. The result is a relationship where you are always auditioning, always giving, never quite receiving. Social exchange theory explains why this dynamic is so draining. Takers calculate every interaction for personal gain, justifying their demands with the belief that they deserve more than they give. Over time, the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. You notice that every conversation circles back to their problems, their victories, their needs. When you finally need support, the line goes dead. This is not a misunderstanding or a rough patch. It is a structure. Used up care is not friendship. If your generosity is met with expectation or indifference, and your boundaries are seen as obstacles, you are not in a mutual relationship. You are being mined. Naming this pattern is the first act of self-respect. True friendship is not built on extraction, but on steady reciprocal presence. Some friendships do not take from your wallet or your time. They take from your sense of reality. The diminisher is easy to overlook because their harm is quiet. They respond to your pain with a shrug, a joke, or a quick change of subject. When you share something that matters, they tell you it's not a big deal, or that you're overthinking. At first, you second-guess yourself only a little, but repetition is the trick. Over months or years, this steady drip of minimization eats away at your self-trust. You learn to swallow your feelings before they reach the surface, to edit your words so you won't be called dramatic, needy, or too sensitive. Validation is the oxygen of hope. When someone listens and accepts your feelings as real, your self-esteem grows. But the diminisher offers the opposite. Their support is conditional, laced with subtle corrections and reminders not to make a fuss. Research shows that chronic emotional dismissal, being told your feelings are too much, too frequent, or too inconvenient, raises stress hormones and can deepen depression. The body absorbs what the heart is told to ignore. Diminishers rarely shout or storm out. Their power lies in the slow erosion of confidence, the way you start to doubt your own experience. In time, the friendship becomes a place where you are smaller than you were before. You ask yourself if you're exaggerating. You rehearse your stories before you speak. And eventually, you stop reaching out altogether. The damage is cumulative, often invisible, and hard to name until you notice how much you've started to disappear. Praise can be a velvet glove for abandonment. The line is familiar. You are so strong. If anyone can handle this, it is you. At first it lands like a compliment, but listen closely, and it sounds like someone quietly stepping back, excusing themselves from the room where you actually need help. Being labeled the strong friend is often a cover for leaving you to carry everything alone. It is the kind of support that evaporates at the moment of real need, replaced by admiration that expects you to keep caring, keep coping, keep swallowing your own fear. What looks like respect can become a permission slip for others to disappear. The harm is not loud. It arrives in language that sounds practical, even loving. But when the world keeps calling you resilient, it is easy for them to forget you. Bleed. Over time, being seen as the strong one means no one thinks to check if you are tired, or scared, or simply in need of someone else's steadiness. You become the person people lean on, but the floor falls away when you reach out. The cost is measured in quiet nights spent holding your own pain, in the slow realization that nobody plans to carry you when you finally stumble. This is not the shape of friendship. It is the architecture of isolation, built from words that sound like care, but function as escape. Naming this pattern is an act of self-respect. No one is strong enough to thrive alone. Joy should feel safe in a true friendship. Easy, unguarded, met with warmth instead of calculation. But some people cast a shadow even in the brightest moments. You share good news and watch the temperature in the room drop. Their smile tightens, their words turn careful, or they change the subject so quickly you wonder if you imagined it. This is joy sabotage, the subtle chill that teaches you to shrink before you celebrate. Research on friendship envy and sabotage finds that when friends respond to success with discomfort, minimization, or coldness, the relationship becomes a place of self-censorship and anxiety. Over time, you learn to filter every happy story, weighing whether your news will trigger a sigh, a backhanded compliment, or a look that makes you wish you'd stayed silent. presence alone is not celebration. A real friend does not compete with your happiness or ration their approval. If you find yourself rehearsing your joy, bracing for it to be dismissed, the bond is already broken. The moment you begin to hide the best parts of your life to protect someone else's comfort, you are no longer in a friendship. You are managing a threat. Filtering your good news is the clearest sign that trust has left the room and that the relationship has quietly ended, long before goodbye is spoken. A real friend is not measured by how often they appear, but by the shape of their presence when it matters most. The standard is simple, but it is not small. Did they show up when you needed them, or only when it was easy? Does this friendship leave you feeling more like yourself or less, shrinking to fit, or finally breathing out? When you share your brightest news, do they celebrate your light, or do they search for the shadow behind it? These are the audit questions, the quiet tests that reveal more than years of shared history. Letting go of someone who fails them is not cruelty. It is self-respect. Release is not an act of bitterness, but of dignity. A true friend does not build the fire and leave you to tend it alone. Their presence makes the house warm. That warmth is the standard. Anything colder, you do not have to keep. Sometimes the heaviest loneliness is the silence left by those who called themselves friends. Naming what harms us is not cold. It is the first act of self-respect. The difference between company and care shapes every joy we dare to share. Subscribe for more stories that help you see yourself clearer.